Computer. Okay. And then I'll take notes. Are you taking notes as well, Megan? Okay, she's shaking her head. Kate, you can listen in and then keep us honest if we miss something. Cool. So I'll try and ask the questions, then I'll take notes. There we go. Actually, you can see us both on that one. Cool. Okay, so let me click over. All right, so let's start with this. Starting at the top, questions. Okay, so the first section we're going to talk about, and I can actually make this a little bit bigger so you can, if I am unclear about something, you can look over. So power distance. So we're defining power distance as the extent to which a community accepts and endorses authority, power differences, and status privileges, specifically like in your country and being in Germany. So one, and some of these kind of sound like they're yes and no, but some of them might be yes or no, but then if you can just maybe give a little bit of context on what you think. So this one is, in a work environment or social setting, people feel comfortable voicing their opinions to others without fear of retaliation.
I think this is quite it's a tricky one. I mean, like it's always all about the work culture and the work environment. And so I think like back in the days, like German companies and Germany in general was quite popular, quite famous for having those strict hierarchies, you know. And so like big differences between roles and titles. And so people were not that open. But I think there is some kind of cultural change, and we like more following the examples like the way you guys do it in the States, being more open, having less hierarchies, and getting more feedback. So I think it's changing now, but it used to be like more strict, more so people were not that open.
How long has that shift been in place?
I would say it's like maybe it was like the new economy when starting like 20 years ago, something like that.
Awesome. Taking notes. Megan, I know you're tracking. I actually created a separate note doc, so I'm not going to type on the original. So feel free to do that if you are. I actually have a separate one, so that way I'm not stepping on top of what you're typing. Okay, second one. In this society, so Germany, a person's ability and capability are more important than their social status.
I wish there would be like that. Also, in general, in Germany, it's still like because we have a great education system, which is open for everybody, and even studying is also like free for everyone. So everybody could join, everybody could study and make a career. So I think like you can value that, but besides that, there are still like closed circles of like elite universities and those members, I would say. So, but I wouldn't say it's like that close, like for example in UK or in Australia. So I'm not sure about how it is in the States, but I know like in UK and Australia, it's like they have like those closed circles of power, and then we have great educated people. And so I think it's more flexible in Germany, and it's more recognized in Germany as well.
So the social status still exists a little bit, but it's a little more flexible.
And it's more aiming on education. So like education is quite important. Like if you have like PhD or something like that, it still has a great reputation.
Got it.
It's more about like what you have done instead of like what your social status was.
Got it. People are relatively independent of their parents, boss, etc.
Yes, relatively yes, independent, and especially because of the funding of the government. So like as I already said, like there are no fees for studying. You can study for free in Germany, which is a great advantage, which is what is my personal opinion. And so they're not that dependent on their parents or like on their bosses.
Awesome. Cool. In your culture, do people have the opportunity to rise in society?
Definitely yes.
What does it take?
So yeah, definitely yes, but it's still there's still like when you see like current researches, it's not that common that people raise. Like when you're born in low class, most people stay there. So it's like still not that flexible, those classes. And maybe I don't know like really what's the issue. Because like especially compared with the States, there's way less support by the government, but there's a different kind of spirit. So like people, I think, are feeling more engaged to race personally and do everything, like for living the American dream. And then that's what the States are famous for. And but we don't have this kind of spirit. But then on the other hand, we have more like support from government to go studying.
So there's still like you mentioned, like if depending on, even regardless of how you're born, you still have the opportunity to rise up in society based on what you do. Like you said before, is based on what you do.
Yes, absolutely. But for sure, like if you have a difficult background, you have more challenges to master and to achieve this same thing, like with somebody who was born with more resources because of their parents, their education level of the parents, money, etc.
So it's easy for some.
For some, it's definitely easier. Absolutely. Same as everywhere in the world.
Everyone. That's right. In your culture, is there a gap between the wealthy and the poor?
Yes. I don't have the actual figures, but there's like some kind like really super rich, which are like owning most of the country, and then the rest. And back in we still always had there was some kind of like the wealth was spread over Germany like an onion, like a few top, a huge middle, and some very poor. So that was how it was, how the wealth was spread over Germany. But I heard it's changing, but once again, I don't have the figures over there.
No problem. Awesome. Okay. Human orientation. So we define this is the degree to which a collective encourages and rewards, and should encourage and reward individuals for being fair, altruistic, generous, caring, and kind to others. So that's how we're defining that human orientation.
Okay.
Basically, treat people well, right?
Okay.
Give people opportunities. So first question, in your society, people feel comfortable exchanging actions such as holding a door open for someone or smiling at a stranger?
Yes, I will show in general. Yeah, absolutely yes. It's comfortable, but sometimes it's in some parts it's more common than in others. It always, once again, depends like how you got educated, how you get treated, what kind of cultural background you have. And also, I think there's also a difference between if you do it in a business environment or on a private environment. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Especially with regards to East Germany. In East Germany, because it used to be a communist country until 1999 and 1990, there was no, there was poor level of service, and people born there and used to there and still working, they don't have like the customer focus like we are used to. Like for example, they wouldn't give you a smile. Like I went to a university which was in East Berlin, and so I grew up in West Berlin, and I went to university in East Berlin. There was some older ladies working there, and they were like absolutely unfriendly. When you were buying something in the restaurant there, like you had the feeling you were begging for something, even if you have to pay for it. So there was like no understanding for customer focus and customer service. So I think this is something that may be very like special or quite in common for former communist countries, where you don't do such friendly things, which we consider like in Western society as normal during business. But I think you need to see this separately to like how you treat people in your private environment.
Awesome.
Does it make sense?
No, that's perfect. That's
Cool.
great context. Yeah, especially because you're located here in Berlin, it is unique because now you're talking about Germany, but then now you're also talking about East and West because it's still so recent.
Yeah.
That you're able to recognize that difference. That's awesome. Okay, in this society, it is encouraged to count on others in your time of need for assistance.
Yes, definitely. So, in Germany is the society sticks together a lot, and I mean it always could be better, but it's even in our constitution it says like we are one society, and so that's why we have all those social benefits, you know, because like the more rich need to pay for the poor, and people with higher income need to pay more taxes, and all those things. So like we need to care, and it's like that's the idea, and it's fundamental for our society, and that's why it's based in the constitution. We don't have the constitution doesn't say like we have capitalism. It says we have a social capitalism. So it's like even mandatory for the way we run the economy.
Cool. Awesome. In this country, power and material possessions motivate people.
Yes, I think yes again, and I think it's also becoming more and more popular because of the media, because of the things available. It's I think material possessions and power. It's very attractive to a lot of people. While on the same time, especially like the people who achieve a lot or have like a strong background with a lot of resources, for them it's more like also have important to have like more work-life balance. So it's
got it.
Especially like the millennials, you know, here quite often, you know, like work-life balance is very important for them. Generation Z, or how you call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Z.
So, yeah. Z.
Awesome. In your culture, do people provide social support for each other?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, sounds like that.
And once again, it can be still better, but we have a lot of people which are engaged as volunteers for the church, for sports clubs, and so this is quite important. As well as the government is taking over a lot of social support. I mean, you know, when we had a walk today, and my colleague, she asked me like, you have way less homeless than we have in the States. It's because of our governmental social systems.
Awesome. Are people in this country open to receiving and providing constructive feedback, even if it hurts their feelings?
Yes, I think
Germany
is very famous for that, because like we used to, sometimes we're too straight. So because like for us, feedback and is quite normal, and also talking very straight.
We're pausing for one second, saying bye to colleagues, everybody.
Safe travels, all the best. Yes. So if you find today, I'll talk tomorrow. So maybe not sure how long we'll be see you later. Otherwise, it was a pleasure to meet you, and see you in February.
I submitted the jump ticket. Perfect. I see something on it. Maybe give up.
Sorry guys, my phone is ringing. Got it. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Thank you so much. This was great. It was so good to meet you. No, see you in February.
Yeah, definitely. So.
Okay.
So we're back.
We're back.
What was the question?
So let me pull up my sheet again. Oh, feedback. So are people in this country open to receiving, providing? One more time, pausing, guys.
To get to the hotel before my call.
Okay, cool.
Okay. See you later. You flying tomorrow as well, right?
We're this is obviously during a work trip. So hold on.
It will definitely be pleasure.
It is what it is.
Definitely. Thanks for all your time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Really great, and I really like the
and then
program.
I'm muting you guys real quick. Okay, we're back, everyone. Thanks for the momentary pause.
Yeah, sorry guys.
So we'll go. Are people in this country open to receiving and providing feedback, even if it hurts feelings? And you said yes.
Yes.
So feedback.
So I think Germans are quite famous for being quite straight, and we don't mean it in a bad way, but we were very objective, and then we just telling our partners or whoever colleagues the way it is or the way we see it, without like sometimes we're too straight and we don't like when other cultures are more sensitive about like how to say things and how to address this. Germans sometimes are very, very straight, which is seen as rude, but it's not rude. It's just like for us, it's easier to like also receiving feedback, straight feedback. Sometimes I have colleagues which like trying. I have the feeling they're trying to say to me something, but I don't get it. I'm thinking like, just tell me straight what you want. What's your expectation? And so yeah. So for us, it's easier to get direct feedback, straight feedback, and also providing straight and direct feedback.
Awesome. Okay, so next one, gender egalitarianism. So we define this as the degree to which a collective minimizes and should minimize gender inequality, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So in your society, men feel comfortable seeing women in authoritative positions.
I think there is still a big acceptance problem, and I think it's going better, especially like when you see like maybe 20 or 30 years ago. So acceptance is increasing and it's getting better, and but it's still not that normal. We are not on the level we should be. And when you see, the biggest German companies are listed as DAX companies on the stock market, and I think that
what kind of company?
DAX, DAX.
Got it.
DAX. So the DAX index is including all the 20 biggest companies of Germany, and so BMW, Siemens, everybody's in the DAX, and then. In all those companies, there's only one company which has a female CEO, and she just became CEO. So now we have the success story is like we have the first CEO of one of the major companies, but it's still like only one woman, and it's SAP actually, and it's an American woman.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, generally speaking, I think the acceptance is good, but it could be better.
That's awesome. That's good context. I had no idea what DAX was, so that's awesome. In this country, gender equality is seen as sustainable development and necessary for human rights.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have a female chancellor. I think women's rights are quite a common thing and quite normal. But sometimes, especially as a man, you don't see those differences. You don't see different treatments because you don't feel them yourself. I had a conversation like, oh, this guy is great, and like my female colleague like, no, he's not. But because like he was treating her different than me, but I like when I was not around. So
awesome.
Sometimes there's a lack of awareness of the man as well, like about other men treating women. Does it make sense?
No, that's awesome. That's perfect. Don't mind my spelling. I'm trying that fast. Does the culture? That's right, man. Does the culture influence equality of genders beginning in adolescence?
What is adolescence?
Like being as a child. So early on, are kids being raised?
Yeah.
For
yeah. So in Germany, it's very common to go in kindergarten, in preschool. So before school, you go into a kindergarten, and you have 1 year of preschool as well. It's a very common thing, and so like you grow up with like you don't have like you only have mixed classes, mixed groups, and everybody should be treated the same. So that's where it started. Yeah. We see a big challenge with migrant groups. which are not using kindergartens as often and are educated at home and like growing up at home until they need to go to school in the age of 6. And those groups, especially like with Arabic migration background, they're like very focused on male education, and like the male is like the little king of the family and the male child. And so there's sometimes an acceptance issue regarding women and female children.
In the German schools, even at kindergarten and preschool, are they influenced? Are the German children influenced in gender equality nowadays, or does it get covered at all?
Yeah, they're mixed classes only, and it should be normal
because
yes.
it's mixed. This is part of the
yes,
integration.
Yes.
Okay.
Like there are no different role models or school uniforms or anything like that.
Got it. Okay. In your culture, there are equal opportunities for both men and women in areas of work and influence.
Once again, I think I can answer this with yes, but it could be better. And I think there was also a change in the recent 20 years, and also women are doing better with like networking, building up power, and so I think which was missing like before, and so we have some women in very powerful positions, starting at the chancellor, some the Friede Springer is one of the wealthiest Germans, and she's owning she's owning actually the biggest media company in Europe. She's a German woman, and so I think there are like some women with great influence and great networks, and yeah, so there
are equal opportunities, but like
yes.
I said, it could be better.
Yes,
but it's shifting over time.
And I don't think we're that far than the States are. I think the States are a little further with the progress than we are. What we do is actually we're discussing a lot about having a fixed ratio, like board members, like half of the board members or 30% or anything like that needs to be have to be women. There's still a big discussion about having those mandatory requirements for companies or not.
Cool. So now trust.
Eli?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Did we skip a question? Number 2, under gender egalitarianism, women, girls have as much right to education and opportunity as men, boys. Or
no.
Did I miss
that? Maybe. So that response we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My fault.
Oh no worries. No, thanks for keeping me honest, because I tried to highlight all the questions to make sure I got everything. So, yeah.
Perfect.
But I do have a response to that I can make sure I put in the other doc as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so now trust, and I'm looking at trust. It looks like it's okay. So this is just about trust. In a typical organization, how is trust earned in the work environment? Competence or sentiment? Or different?
Sentiment means?
Are we referring to emotional sentiment, Megan?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm reading this as.
So is it like what you know, or is it here's what I think about you?
Okay.
Like how do you get there?
I think traditionally it's all about the competence. And I said, like, because German feedback tradition is also like very straightforward, very straight. So I think like traditionally it's competence, which is most important. And then second, and it's now becoming like soft skills are becoming more and more important in terms of like modern leadership. But like it used to be not important. And if you have a look on those like icons of the German economy, like especially in the automotive industry, like all those automotive engineers who became CEOs and stuff, they were all not famous at all for the kind of leadership. They were all quite hard and challenging leaders for their employees.
So they just value really it is competence. It's not.
Yeah. So like if you, yeah,
It's not who you are or why I know you. It's like, hey, prove to me that you could do the job.
yes,
That's how you earn
yeah, but
that
like
trust.
less, yeah, but less. I think I understood the question more if it's about like competence or like social skills.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. Okay. So you have to
So
earn your
yeah,
right, earn your
yes,
trust.
Yes, yes. But I think also once again there's a slightly change. So especially like with tech companies and so social skills are becoming more and more important.
Include social skills. Okay, cool. In your country, is it commonly believed that people who share the same religion are more trustworthy?
In general, no. I think there might be some people who think that way, or I think it's maybe less than they think. Like we have the same religion, so we put more trust in those people. But it's like having some kind of negative attitude or thinking about other religion, like especially like Muslims. So have like some prejudices against this community. So I think this is, yeah.
So just
So,
because
like,
you might share that religion doesn't mean that it's automatically going to trust you.
yeah. So I think, yeah. So I don't think like there's such a like this kind of positive impact, but more the like the negative impact of having prejudgments against certain religious groups.
Awesome. In a typical organization, is trust immediately given to a new colleague or earned over time?
I think both ways. I mean, when you got hired, you some kind of trusted anyway, and but you still need to earn it. You need to prove it or that you deserve it. And I mean, I think in typical German companies, it's more you need to earn it. Because I'm now used quite a lot to American companies and American culture, where it's like you belong here because you survived the interview process, and in Germany it's still like you need to prove you're right here when you started. So I think like I would say in general American companies put more trust in you when you're starting, and while in traditionally German companies you need to like still prove you're the right one and you're fitting into the position and the company culture.
Awesome. Cool. In your culture, does the seniority of a new colleague's role within an organization create more trust?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that because just the hierarchy? Like they're
Yes. So like, yeah. So if you're coming quite young age in a leadership position, you have you have to fight a lot of like prejudgments as well. So more senior of experience and age, it's easier for you to get to receive the acceptance of staff.
So younger is harder, but would that even with that young person coming in, do they still get a certain amount of trust just because of the role? Even though they might have to earn in the long run more, do they automatically get more trust just because of the level, like of their seniority in the work?
Seniors in terms of level or age?
Like a level. So like,
okay,
we're talking about like a role. So let's say
Yeah.
it was like a director coming in and like very young, maybe right out of college or something.
That
here.
would be very skeptical. No, so
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay, so it's me. No, got it. So just because of their role, they don't automatically get trust.
Yes.
Their age plays some factor.
Yes, absolutely.
What if it was the opposite? What if it was an older person coming in to a role in a senior position?
Then they would ultimately would trust more.
Okay, so just the age is a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Fluggesellschaft offen? Okay. So take the laptop and just move over there.
Oh yeah. All right. I'm gonna Megan, I'm gonna pause for a second. We're changing rooms. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put you on mute. And I'm gonna turn off my camera, but I'm still here. Okay, we're back. Can you hear us? Cool.
Yes, I can.
Alrighty. Okay, so younger, harder, older would be easier. 5. In a typical work environment, once trust is earned, how is it maintained?
Good question. Um, I think it was consistency of good good work. If you deliver good work, and as well as integrity. I mean, especially in our position, our industry, integrity is everything.
Okay. Effective communication now is what we're talking about. In your culture, how is conflict handled in a typical work environment? Directly or indirectly?
Directly.
Sounds like you said before, you're straight to the point.
Yes.
Cool. In your culture, how often do teams, departments, or colleagues meet face-to-face versus communicating by means of telecommunication, like email, telephone, GVC?
I can only speak for the companies I've been working with, and so I would say face-to-face is still very important for employees, and I think it's still very common that you have those like weekly or rounds. Yeah, to have some FaceTime. But it always depends on the manager and his interpretation of leadership. So,
Is there in your culture, is there a preference either way on what's better?
I'm not too sure how to answer this. I think the traditional approach is more like when you have a meeting face to face, and you get the managers telling you what he expects, while the more modern approach is also like to asking the employee what he thinks or wants to achieve.
At this point, it just depends on where you work. There's no like
Yes, it's
German
always-
culture. It's not like, hey, you need to talk to me face to face.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a unique work culture regarding like face to face and feedback interviews.
Got it. In your culture, do you rely on nonverbal cues such as smiling, head nods to show agreement or understanding on a topic of conversation?
Yes, you do.
What are meaningful gestures that demonstrate a sincere interest in your culture and building a relationship?
I think this is quite international. Like when you're interested in someone's like active listening, asking questions, mirroring maybe the behavior of your interview. Showing sympathy, small talk, all those things, you know.
And is there anything like when it comes to like interpersonal relationship that is valued in Germany? So like as far as like a gesture, is it our dinners or like inviting people over? Or is there any of that you feel is meaningful?
Yes, sure. For example, like a dinner invite or something like that would be meaningful.
Awesome. Okay. Negotiation. Last 2 questions, and then I'm going to go through and make sure I didn't miss anything. What are some attributes of an effective negotiator in your country?
I would say like tough, you know, like if someone is like a famous, someone is like well known or renowned for being a good negotiator, like in terms of business, like everyone like that's tough guy, like they are negotiating like hard, tough, and I think this is still in common for German for successful German companies when it comes to negotiations.
So you have to like hold a stand. So it's not about
like forcing them to get the best prices, getting the best offers. So something. I mean, this is the reputation, like the way you see things. It's like you get nobody will say like, when you say about a manager like that's a tough guy in negotiations, like it's something positive. So I would say like
toughness. I like it.
Yeah,
cool.
I think I would say that.
What would break trust in a negotiation in your culture?
I'm thinking about that. I think there are many ways that break trust. It's like when you don't stick to something you've agreed in earlier. It's like, I mean, you can negotiate tough, but if you agree, you agree. Like that should be it. So that if you can come around to like renegotiating it again and start from the beginning, it's like you're losing a lot of trust. So like in our culture, it wouldn't be considered as normal, while in other cultures, like a lot of like negotiations and everything, it's like some kind of is seen as normal. So also we want to get and receive the first offer should be something realistic. While in other cultures, like they come up with something pretty unrealistic, and you say something unrealistic, and you meet them in the middle. All those, as we Germans are not used to those games in negotiations. Like breaking up negotiations, meeting the next day, breaking up again. Like having fully unrealistic requests. This is something which is not in common at all.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Okay, I'm at the end of our document, just double checking. All right, I'm gonna go back up to the top, and Megan, I think I still see in the background. So I'm at the top of the page again, so I just wanna make sure, well, I should have you, that we hit everything. And so I'm on part 1, Megan, power distance. Question 1, I have a response. Question 2, in the society, I have a response. Part 1, question 3, I have a response. Question 4, I have a response. Question 5, I have a response. Human orientation now. Question 1, I have a response. Question 2, I have a response. Question 3, I have a response. Question 4, response. Question 5, I have a response. Gender egalitarianism, number 1. Did I miss that one? No.
I got that one. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Got it.
For some reason, I don't have it, but you have it. Okay, good.
Yes.
Question 2, I have a response. That's the one that you said you didn't?
Yes, that's the one I said I didn't.
Okay, I have a response to that one. Question 3, response. Question 4, question 5, and now trust. Question 1, response. 2, response. 3, response. 4, response. 5, response. Now effective communication. Number 1, I have a response. 2, response. 3, a response. 4, a response. negotiation, number 1, a response, and number 2, a response. Did I miss anything?
Nope, you got it.
Dominic, thank you. Totally bailed us out, man. Appreciate it.
I'm happy
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah.
So whenever you have any question, like if you want me to clarify anything I've just said, just ask me now. Otherwise, I'm happy to support you with studies.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for dialing in, Megan. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for arranging this.
You bet. Thanks.
All right. Y'all, very nice meeting you.
All right. Let's see here. And meeting for. Oh, wait. I better stop.